Hello, and welcome to our Cycle PayJunction webinar. Um, uh, Today, we're going to be talking about upgrading your practice's payment experience with Sycle Credit Card Processing powered by PayJunction. And just briefly, um, our quick agenda here, we're going to do a couple of intros with myself and Mr. Zach here, talk about the benefits of an integrated payment system, and do a demo slash overview of the integration itself, and then a quick Q&A. And my name is Dan Sellers. I'm the Director of Sales here at Sycle, and I am here with my friend and longtime partner at PayJunction, PayJunction Integration Manager, Zach Reed. Zach, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Good morning and or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Thanks everybody for joining us. We appreciate your time today.
Now, PayJunction, you guys have been a partner of Sycle. I want to say, well, I've been here at the company for going on 10 years, and I want to say that we've been partnered for around 7. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think we're actually going on 8 here before
Okay.
long. Time flies. Yeah. But we've had this integration in place for, 7 years and change, constantly adding new features and new improvements on our platform. Some of which, if you've been part of this webinar in the past, we have some new features to show you today as well. So thank you again for joining us.
Now,
Dan,
oh, go ahead,
go
Zach.
ahead, sir. After you, please.
Well, I was just going to say, our customers, there's so many different merchant service options out there for credit card processing. And so we went through a pretty extensive process with a number of different vendors when we ultimately decided to go with PayJunction. And one of the reasons we decided to go with PayJunction is you guys' dedication to adding more functionality, building more features, making it really easy to work with. But ultimately, I think one of the big keys was that we were able to you guys are so flexible in pricing for customers in a number of ways, which is we'll get into in a few minutes, but was another big benefit. How's it been working with Sycle from the PayJunction end?
Oh, it's been lovely. Yeah, everybody on your team's been great. This is one of our favorite integrations that we have for sure. Getting to know everybody's been a real treat. And I think some of the benefits of the integration are just to kind of cue in from a merchant side. It's going to just save time. It's going to streamline the workflow directly from within Sycle, so you don't have to be, in an outside system and then getting into Sycle and manually posting your payment. Right, everything can happen in one motion, and it's hosted from within the Sycle system. So essentially, it's going to have your workload in terms of the credit card processing end and the accounting end on the back as well.
Yeah, and from what I understand, accountants actually love this integration, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, we'll show you here shortly, but the backend system is wonderful. Anybody that just has a login can see all transactions in live time from any location, as long as they have access to the internet.
And that's one of the big things that we want to do here at Sycle is provide as many different options for integration, so that you're not necessarily leaving the system constantly for this instance, running a credit card. And so we've got, a number of different integrations for patient financing, credit card processing, some marketing automation options, things like that. But ultimately QuickBooks Sync, but we really want to keep you in Sycle because ultimately that's going to ultimately save you the most time throughout the day. And so Zach, since you touched on the integration, just a quick slide here, and this is correct me if I'm wrong, this is the newest smart terminal that you guys offer. Is that right?
Indeed, yes. So this is the zero touch terminal. It plugs into an Ethernet port, and your patients can process their own transaction on this device while you are logged into Sycle when you have an outstanding purchase summary. So whether they have, Apple Watch, Google Wallet, if they want to swipe a card, insert their chip, all that can happen on this device. Again, while you're logged into Sycle.
And we'll towards the end, we'll talk about different options for how to acquire equipment. As far as now, one of the questions that I was a little bit unclear of before you and I started working together years ago was sort of just the difference in the way that pricing works in the credit card processing industry in general. Yeah. And so I think this is a great graphic, left versus the right. So Zach, you want to run down what we're looking at here?
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's a few different ways that people will price you, right, for whatever your merchant account contract or payment plan is. One of which is on the left-hand side of the graph here is just a flat rate, right? So outfits like Square, Stripe, PayPal, they're offering just one flat rate. The sort of tricky bit about that is, yes, you as a consumer know exactly what you're going to be charged for every transaction, but based on the wholesale costs of cards, and these are costs that are set by the card brand company. So whether it's Visa, MasterCard, Discover, they set a wholesale cost for a card. And basically what's happening here is on the left-hand side of the graph is they're just rounding to that flat rate. So the markup varies. You don't actually know how much money the merchant account provider is making on the account, right? It's sort of obscured. What we're trying to do here on this has been Google price interchange versus the wholesale cost. You will see that most folks are going to encourage you to do this plan because it's transparent. You know exactly what you're going to be charged for, any particular transaction. The merchant account provider is going to do the exact same cost. The only thing that changes is the card that your patient is bringing in, right? So again, just a transparent way to bill. We have a few different pricing plans we can put you on. We would encourage this though, because it's just kind of the most ethical.
Yeah, and to me, the Interchange Plus gives a whole lot more flexibility. In addition, one of the ways that you guys are able to offer interchange pricing is because you do a little more due diligence on your customer base. Is that right?
Right. So what we want to do is we want to get in the merchant statements, right? So whatever bill you have from your current provider, we'll go through that with a fine tooth comb with our accounting team, figure out, what you're being charged over interchange, if there are hidden fees, if they're padding interchange. There's a lot of kind of sketchy things that some outfits can do. And again, this method is the most ethical because you see exactly what the wholesale costs are, and then you see exactly what you're being charged for this service. And our service charge would just stay the same.
And we'll actually get into a real life example of a savings report here in just a few minutes. So now that we've got that covered, just give us, I see some quick bullet points here. Obviously, the integration is going to save you time, as Zach alluded to earlier. Running a credit card outside of the system, you're going to have to go back into Sycle, pull up the patient, pull up the invoice, post a payment manually, and ultimately, not necessarily less secure, but you can be more tying those two things together.
For sure. Yeah, the industry's changed quite a bit over the last 10 years or so. But I think when we started our relationship, a lot of folks had plug-in-the-wall phone line terminals, spitting out a paper receipt. Some folks had multiple locations, but only one headquarters. So some people would call in with a card number, they key it in over the phone, or they would, take their paper receipts, their batch reports, and then someone would drive to all of the clinics, pick them up, and then take them to headquarters for accounting, right? It sounds crazy to say now, but that's just kind of how it used to be. Now everything is online, right, as we know. And so because we already have your payment processing online, Sycle is a web-based platform. We should put our minds together. That's going to save you time. As far as data security, we're a PCI Level 1 compliant provider, which is the highest security standard in the industry. We encrypt and securely tokenize all the card numbers. So it's the highest level of security you can get. So you're in good hands in terms of that.
And I do just want to point out that with the integration, even though you're running cards technically through Sycle's not storing any of that card information.
Precisely.
That's all being stored on the PayJunction.
That's sent directly. It's tokenized on its way to us. We securely store that again. It's encrypted. So yeah, you can't do anything malicious with that.
All right. So here's just a nice graphic breakdown of some of the features that are offered. I'm sure you're going to run. We'll just be quick here, but I'm sure you're going to run through some of these in the demo we're going to do in just a second. But obviously capturing signatures on a smart terminal. But what else? Can you run through a couple of these?
Yeah. So, and one caveat to that actually is, so since COVID, the card industry changed a little bit. You're not actually required to capture signatures anymore. Particularly with our hardware. You can if you'd like to, and we'll allow you to do that, but you don't need to if you're using the newest technology out there, which is what our smart terminal or portable device do. That said, instead of storing paper receipts in a filing cabinet for chargeback protection, we can store a signature digitally to an invoice for you, or you can just not even worry about that anymore with the new hardware. E-commerce, we can allow you to put a make a payment button on your website, so you can take payments 24/7 directly from your website. They'll go into the same merchant account as your day-to-day payment processing through us. As I mentioned earlier, tokenization, we tokenize that card data and it's encrypted. Phone orders, so you can manually enter in a card number from any computer with internet. I know that we talked about hardware before. Clearly, you're going to have some card not present transactions, in which case you can just key in that card number the same way that you would on like an old school phone line terminal. You can do that right into our virtual terminal, also right into Sycle. Recurring transactions, I'll show that as well in the demo. Essentially, you would set a payment schedule on a card to bill whatever payment schedule you would like. And then last is our newest feature, which we have yet to show in a demo, which is our email payment invoice. Not to be confused with a Sycle invoice, but you can email a payment request to a patient, and then they can pay for that remotely from any computer or smartphone. So from within the Sycle system, to process your payment, you just need an outstanding invoice. So I have one pulled up here for a Joe Smith in Florida. He owes us $199. As Sycle users, you're probably aware of how to post a payment, right, to Sycle. That's where the magic happens. So all you need to do is click the payment button with an outstanding invoice. That will take you to the add payment screen. From here, total the amount, as you know, or you can enter in a custom amount if a patient is just paying a portion of the purchase. If you are going to take that payment in person on our hardware, you will select Smart Terminal as the payment type, click Submit, and what's going to happen is it's going to send a payment request to our device, which you saw in that image earlier. I'll show you again what they look like here towards the end. But effectively, what's going to happen is your patient will go ahead and insert their chip card, swipe the card, whatever they need on that device. And when they do, it's going to come back and zero out this invoice. You'll see a payment made. So again, total the amount, hit submit. It's going to send that payment request straight from Sycle. Patient runs the transaction. You're done. If it declines, it will not save the invoice. So no sweat there. If you want to take a phone order, what you'll do is just select the card type. So for a card not present transaction, as I mentioned previously, you'll go ahead and just manually enter in a card number. Let me show you what one looks like here real quick. You're going to want to make sure that you have the proper address and zip code as well as expiration for security reasons.
Yeah, and we pass that information through with the card to be validated, correct?
If the transaction is taken in person, then we're going to get all that card data, yes.
Okay.
If it is a phone order, you're going to want to get that card data from the patient just to make sure that there's an extra level of security, there's no fraud or anything of that nature.
Gotcha.
You'll go ahead and click save. Excuse me, sweetie. Sorry, 5-year-old baby. Thank you. We'll go ahead and click save on that transaction. And when we do so, it's going to post and process directly to that patient invoice. So hit save one more time, and we'll see that go ahead and get approved.
No, you can also
by PayJunction.
You can also process an ACH or a check payment as well too, right?
You can, yes. So if you'd like to manually enter in a routing and account number, then you can go ahead and do that, and we'll go ahead and front those funds into your business bank account overnight. There is a small fee for that, but there's a cost to the convenience for sure. Once you post that payment, you can then email a copy of the receipt to the patient as well, instead of printing a paper receipt if you'd like to cut down on that. This is effectively the meat of the integration. You're taking those transactions straight from Sycle. They're going to post to the invoice and zero it out, as we see here, zero money due from the patient. And what's happening is Sycle is sending that information to us over at PayJunction. Let me try and move this bar out of my way so I can see what I'm doing. And with a PayJunction account, you will have access to our virtual terminal. So this is just a demo account here. You can sign in the beginning of the day. It'll keep you signed in all day long. You can create as many users as you need. You can create restricted user access. This is very customizable. This is the home page. If Sycle ever went down, or if you had a walk-in, you can take a transaction directly from here as well. Obviously, we don't anticipate that happening. You're just going to process those payments through Sycle and cut down on a bunch of the workload. But if we look at our batches, we'll see every single transaction come into here in live time, and they're all stored here for the life of the account with the details of said transaction. So just on this batches tab, and instead of storing those paper batches in a filing cabinet, they're all here for you online digitally, and you can search in here as well. So if I click on a batch, we've got all our cards. If you select this eyeball on the left-hand side, it'll pull up those card details. So we have the card number, X'd out except for the last 4 digits. Again, this is tokenized, timestamp, amount, approval code, invoice, all that data for you. And then you can refund or recharge that card on file. So we securely store that so you can use it again in the future. So instead of calling the patient, getting their number over the phone to initiate a refund or to charge their card again, it's here and you can pull it up in seconds. You can also do that from the search tab. So if I go to the search bar here, you can enter in any info you'd like. So if we want to find a $500 transaction from this week, click search. It'll pull up anything with that data. Not a lot of action on this demo account today, but again, search for anything that you need. Dean, I'm sorry, did you have a question there at one point?
No, I was just going to point out that we just saw how incredibly easy it'll be for your front office person to take those payments. And then if you're a back office or administrator owner, you'll probably spend more time here because once the payment's captured in Sycle, it's going to flow right over to PayJunction. And then you have all of these capabilities that Zach's showing you for the back office here as well.
Indeed. And I did see a question pop up in the chat here. Can a refund only be processed through PayJunction on Sycle? You can do refunds through Sycle. Indeed. You'll just need the card for that. So because Sycle isn't retaining that card data, right, for security reasons at this point, you're going to have to recharge or refund from us if you don't want to grab the card. If you'd like to do it from Sycle as you are now, you just need that card, which, in a lot of instances, you're probably going to have anyhow.
Well, and I would also point out that the transaction itself would have needed you'll have to have the card, but the transaction will have had to have been processed from Sycle as well. Is that correct?
Um, I'd say 99% of the time, yes.
Okay.
We have had accounts when they transition to us where they'll have to initiate a refund. If you try to refund on a card that was not initiated from our system, it'll decline it because they'll go, we never processed this. Why are you trying to put money on it? However, our support team can, one-off, go ahead and allow that transaction to go through if you've transitioned from your old merchant account provider to us. But 99% of the time, 99.9, right, you're going to need that card on file already. Some more items here on this left-hand toolbar are recurring payments. So you can set up that payment schedule. If I click new recurring, you just add in the card data. If you already have it in here, let me just grab one real quick and I'll show you. All you have to do is click this recurring button here, since we have the card on file, and it'll auto-populate the card data. And then you just set your schedule to whatever you'd like. Most often it's probably a monthly billing, call it $100. We can start on August 1st. You can leave the end date open if you want to run in perpetuity, or you can put an end date on it. So call it 18 months, click process recurring, and it's going to go ahead and set up a payment schedule as you see here. So this card will be charged $100 on the first of the month, every month for 18 months. If this card declines, say for insufficient funds or the card expired, that's what this alert section is for here. We'll let you know so you can reach out to the patient and grab valid card information.
And just for reference, the recurring payment option, you would, and I'm sure, Zach, you're going to hit reports in just a second, but you would want to, since those are transacting outside of Sycle, you would just,
yes,
as those payments process each month, or every 3 months, or whatever the cadence is, you would want to post those charges manually as like a Visa payment back to Sycle.
Thank you for making that note, Dan. Yeah. So let me be super clear. So anything processed directly from PayJunction will not after the fact communicate with Sycle. So these recurring transactions you will need to post. But again, you don't have to call the patient, get the card number, key it in once a month, right? You don't have to store the card number. I've heard of people doing it in filing cabinets. That's not
terrible idea.
You're supposed to be doing. People have done it, write it down, and then they'll key it in once a month. So we're doing the heavy lifting here. All you need to do is just post a payment for reconciliation to Sycle. In this report section, you can export any data. You can set whatever parameters you'd like and export whatever you'd like and use that. The last item, and again, that new feature that we're super excited to share with you, is this invoices feature. Effectively, it's an emailed payment request. We've called invoices. Don't want to cause any confusion with a Sycle invoice. But basically what you can do is add a new invoice, enter in the name of the patient. So we'll call it Steve Jones. You add an email address, okay, customer ID, invoice number. You can customize this field and make some of these sections mandatory. Add in an amount. And then in a message, you can make whatever you need on the fly. So, hi, Steve, please pay $500 deposit, send invoice. And what's going to happen is the patient is going to get an invoice that looks like this an email that looks like this. Once they receive that, all they have to do is click this Pay Now button. That's going to take them to a page that we host. And then they can insert their own card data. So instead of you having to call them, get that card number over the phone, they can go ahead and on their own time, 24 hours a day, enter in their card data. And let's just make sure we got this address and zip. I want to show you what it looks like when we get an approval. Click save, pay. And then it's going to go ahead and approve that for them. And then all they need to do is see on this invoice, go back to PayJunction, invoices.
We just got a live question here. They will not need a PayJunction account to pay this way, right?
Indeed. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Great question. They do not. No, 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 no. You just need a PayJunction merchant account. They don't need anything other than that email and their card number. And as you see, we just made that payment. And so once it gets paid, it'll let you know. If people are not paying them, as we have, nobody's actually paying these on this demo account. So these all show open. If you were to get the payment via another method, let's say you emailed a payment request, they didn't pay it, they come into the office, they make a payment in person, you can just void this and then you won't have to worry about it, right? But once it's paid, it's there, and then you'll see that in your batch. So those funds will go in your business bank account the following day.
And then we did have another question related to and I think we're getting close to being done with the demo, so I'm going to go ahead and throw this in there. But creating a link on the website so that patients could pay their bills online. It sounds like somebody is already doing this, maybe through a different provider, but wondering if they can do this with PayJunction.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see if I can pull up Sandria. Let's see. So this is not obviously an audiology account. No, this isn't the one. Yeah, so we can put a make a payment button on your website, no problem. It's super easy. You can get in touch with our support team, or they can have your web developer reach out. But yeah, we can do that. It's included in the system. There's no additional cost for that. So if you're paying, and sometimes we'll have folks that have a Square account for conventions or mobile transactions when they're going to, like a home or a retirement community. They'll have their brick and mortar for their office, and then they'll have e-commerce through a different outfit. You're paying 3 different companies, 3 different amounts, right? And they all need to be, keeping their lights on, right? So if you can consolidate to that to one business, you're going to save some money for sure. And again, that's included in our service. There's no additional cost. You'll see those transactions come in here into your PayJunction account. Also, if you have multiple locations, we can separate those out so you can see them all. We have a lot of folks, as you know, in this industry that have more than one clinic. So if you go to your batches section, you would see each location's volume, right, separately. We can do one lump sum deposit. But if you have an e-commerce, a web payment through us, you'll see that listed here. So for instance, instead of Santa Barbara, this would just say e-commerce or website. So then you can sort of accommodate those funds where they need to go.
Now, just to confirm, if somebody pays online through the website, that's going to be considered a card not present transaction. Is that right?
Indeed, yeah. So anytime someone is not there in person with their card, it's considered card not present transaction. And the card companies, who set wholesale cost, they charge a slightly higher percentage for card not present transactions because they deem that a little more risky, right? Could be fraud, could be stolen. So the cheapest way to process is with a card in person, but we know that's not always going to happen, right? It's sometimes way more convenient to just take the payment online, pay a slightly higher wholesale cost, than trying to have somebody come in with their card.
Now, guys, we're at the 30-minute mark. We're going to keep going, but if you need to drop, once again, we are going to send out this recording in just a moment. So don't feel bad. But we're going to keep going here.
Awesome. Just looking at the questions here. Yeah, it looks like we've addressed most of these. Great. So as far as the virtual terminal, that's pretty much it. Turning on the integration is very easy. You can do that with our support team. We have support articles online that you can search. And then if you have users, as I mentioned earlier, you can create as many users as you need in the system, and you can limit what they can and cannot do. So if you say, hey, I don't know about that Zach guy, right? You can just basically not allow him to do refunds or recurring transactions. If you have multiple locations, you don't want people to see what's happening at the other clinics, you can limit their visibility as well. So this is all customizable to whatever you need to make this work best for you. But I'd say for the most part, that's pretty much it on the demo at this point, Dan, if we want to pass it back over to you.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and reshare my screen. And and the activation in Sycle, I've actually it's kind of crazy to me, but even in the past couple of months, we've had some customers reach out and say, hey, I heard there's an integration with PayJunction. I got approved for PayJunction a long time ago, but I'm actually not using the integration. I'm processing all my payments through PayJunction.
Yeah.
But getting set up or getting the integration activated, once you've got everything set up in PayJunction, in your clinic administration page, at the very bottom of the page, for each location, there's a spot for a username and password that is from PayJunction. You put that in, and boom, it's connected up. Now
it takes maybe 5 minutes, if that. And if anybody that gets signed up with us, if you need any questions or if you need any help with that, you can call me directly too. So we have a support team that can help. I'm here to help, and we want to make sure that you're taking advantage of the integration.
And Zach, what I'm showing here is posted on the PayJunction website. So if you guys want to go to payjunction.com, you can check the pricing page as well. But I point people here quite often as just in terms of, Square, Stripe, PayPal, and just kind of a comparison. Now, this is not typical of the maybe custom pricing that a lot of our customers have, correct? This is just your premium plus.
Yeah, this is our off-the-shelf pricing. We do offer different pricing plans. And if you like, what we typically try and do is get those merchant statements so we can show you a savings analysis. If your rates are better than these, we guarantee to match those at a minimum, if not improve upon them. But this pricing plan, I think we probably have maybe 60-70% of Sycle users on. So, and with this, we can still save, oftentimes a bunch of money as well. So we're not sure what plan you would get because we don't know what you're paying now. And obviously we don't want to charge you more for the system than what you're currently paying as well. So we just have an analysis drawn up by our underwriting bank, get that back to you. And I think we'll show a savings report here.
Yeah, and actually we have an example.
Next slide.
And this was, just for reference, this was a real savings report generated for a Sycle customer.
This is 2 years old now. Wow, time does fly. But yeah, these folks, they qualified for a free smart terminal based on their volume. If you process over $25,000 a month in credit and debit cards, and you can show a merchant statement, you would get a smart terminal covered for free. Those are the devices that we'll show here shortly. And it looks like we saved over $200 a month on this bill, right? I think these guys were with Square. Yeah, there we go. So it's Square pricing. So a couple $100 a month in savings, free device, and the integration. So this one was a big win.
And I just want to point out that I've had personal, conversations with customers plenty of times over the years where it's like, oh, well, my pricing is great. I've been working with this guy for years, and he just, he's hooked me up on my rate. It's really good. But at the end of the day, the rate is not the most important thing. I would suggest it's free to get a savings report run. There's really no reason not to. You just send a couple months worth of statements to Mr. Zach here, and he can get his team to get a report run within like 24 hours or so.
Totally.
Because a lot of
no
times,
obligation, no cost associated with that, right? And also we have no startup fees, no cancellation fees, and no long-term contract agreements either. So conceivably, if you wanted to try us out for a month, you can do so. You're not bound to us for 3 years. But yeah, you're right. So sometimes folks have killer deals. There's no question about that, right? We see those periodically. And then sometimes people may think they're getting a better deal than what's actually happening. And what we've seen in the last couple of years is almost every merchant account provider out there, just from the instability in the last 2 years. I wonder what happened to them. They have raised rates. So we've seen a lot of people raise rates. We've yet to do that. and we're not going to, right? But we would encourage a savings report, just so you know, right? Obviously, the product, the benefits are going to be there, but cost does help as well. So we can get you an analysis again and let you take a look at that and see what you think.
Well, that's another reason why we chose PayJunction too, is we didn't want to have an offering where our customers may be roped in for several years on a contract.
Yeah. A little credit card processing 101, regardless of what happens from here, gang. No hard feelings if you don't sign up with us, but don't ever get in a contract, ever. It's not worth it.
So as far as getting started, I mean, really, I'll post up Zach's contact information here in just a second. We're going to run through a couple of questions, but really easy. First thing we want to do is get a savings report run.
Yep.
If you decide to move forward, a savings report based on the rates that PayJunction will offer to your practice. And then after that, it's just an approval process. And
yep.
I mean, realistically, Zach, if soup to nuts, how long are we talking to get fully, approved, set up, ready to go?
Probably a week, if we're being, start to finish. Yeah. So what would happen is we get you an analysis, make sure the numbers look good to you. Then we just need an application filled out. We'll need a void check so we know where to put your funds. They may want to see some bank statements just to ensure that there's standing capital in the account in case of a chargeback or a refund. We send that to the underwriting bank. That takes about 2 to 3 business days to get it approved. We've done it in less time. So, if we need to expedite this, we can. And then we send out hardware. You get an email. You can start keying in transactions immediately once the account has been approved. And then equipment takes maybe a day or two to be delivered. So start to finish, I'd say about a week. We can do training for staff members. We have outstanding online support. Our support team can help you get terminals installed. They can help you set up your account, run test transactions. We're here to make sure you're comfortable and ready to go.
Good deal. So just a couple of FAQs, and I think we've covered some of these already.
Yeah, sorry. May have jumped the gun here, dude.
It's all good. It's all good. So is there a contract? The answer is no. It's completely month to month. You can cancel it anytime. No on cancellation, hidden, or startup fees. So what if somebody is stuck in a contract?
So what we'll do if someone's stuck in a contract is we'll try and save enough money a month to cover the minimum fee of just keeping the account open. So let's say someone's monthly minimum, if they don't process a penny, is like $25. Say there's a rental fee of $25, so call it $50, right? We try and save at least $50 a month based on the rates to where you can utilize our system, have the benefits of the integration. I mean, you can just let that contract run out. And then once it runs out, cancel, and we'll take over from there.
And I do want to just go back to the integration, because that is a huge selling point and time saver in and of itself.
Yep.
You can spend a lot of time doing cross work between systems and all of that. I bet I'm pretty sure that there's a number of processors out there that don't even offer the recurring payment option, the invoicing option, the ease of use of that back office portal that you were showing us. So even if results may vary on how much money you may save on your rates. If you do have great rates, I think oftentimes PayJunction comes pretty close to matching them, if not beating them more often than not.
For sure. I mean, there might be like PCI compliance fees. We don't charge for those, right?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of ways to sneak up on it.
But ultimately, if all things are equal, you're also getting the integration too. So
100%. And that's the biggest portion here, right? It's going to consolidate workflow. Some folks won't even give access to the backend system to some of their employees or folks working at the office, right? Everything is from within Sycle, so they don't even need it. But that's there for accounting folks, practice managers, whatever the case may be.
So the options for getting equipment, we've already sort of covered.
Yeah, and these are the 2 devices here on this page on the bottom. So the right we discussed, that's the zero touch terminal, plugs into an Ethernet port. The other side, Dan, the zero touch. That's the stationary device. And then on the left-hand side, that's new. That's our mobile device that is wireless. So if you're on the move, if you're going from a back office to the front office, if you're doing, house calls, you can bring that with.
If you're going to a satellite office,
Indeed, right? Yeah, and we'll see that often where someone has like 5 satellite clinics, and they'll go, back and forth. So instead of getting a bunch of these stationary devices, you can save some money. Just get this one portable device, bring it with you. It's got an 8-hour battery life, and it does all the same, functions as that other terminal.
We've covered how to get started and training and support. I mean, the PayJunction team is great with supporting our customers, but the training is pretty straightforward. I mean, Zach just kind of highlighted how easy it is to use the back office solution. So I don't know if you have anything to add there, Zach.
No, I mean, we've got a support page. You can search for anything you may need. So if you want to help installing a smart terminal, you can call our team. All that is there for you. Super easy. You can have my cell, our support team, whatever you need. You can get a hold of somebody, and we're here to help. So I know some outfits maybe not as easy to get a hold of, but we're around for you to help out.
Let's jump in. I know we answered some of these questions as we went. So let's see what we've got here. There would be a swipe machine for card present transactions supplied by PayJunction. Is that correct? Is there a charge for? So let's just say you aren't getting free equipment, but you want the zero touch terminal. What are we looking at?
Yeah, so those guys, they cost quite a bit to make. I wish they were free for everybody, but we need to make sure we're not, eating money on that. They're $24.95 a month to rent. So per device, $24.95 a month. You can also purchase them outright for $4.99.
Okay.
And again, we'll try and save you enough money to cover the cost of that, so you're not paying more. If we can.
And let's just say you've got 3 locations, and the way that you look at volume for free equipment is by location. So if you're doing on average 25,000 a month in credit cards in one location, you qualify for 1 terminal. Is that right?
Indeed. Yep.
Another question, do you have to have the QuickBooks Sycle sync to use PayJunction? And the answer is no, they're completely separate. However, the payments that you process through PayJunction that are posted in Sycle will write over to QuickBooks if you're using the integration, just like any other payment that you post in Sycle. And looks like we covered the cost of the smart terminals.
Yeah, I'm just going to send an answer here into the chat so you have it.
Okay. And I think that covers all the questions. I want to say thank you, Zach, for being such a great partner. Thanks for joining us today.
Okay, thank you. Pleasure is mine. And my contact info is here for anyone. If you need, you can call my cell, shoot me an email. Any additional questions, we can do more demos if you have other folks that would like to join. We're here to help and make sure that
and I would just say that, just to go back to the steps to get started, the quickest way to get started, just go ahead and pull a couple of months worth of statements from your current processor. And because if you're not currently using PayJunction, I mean, that's step 1. Let's get a savings report run. Let's see what we're looking at. And then Zach and team can sort of take it from there. So, and Zach, that's probably going to be one of the first things you ask for somebody that's interested anyways, right?
Yeah, it's the best place to start. I mean, once you know what you're looking at cost-wise, we get an idea of how much free hardware we can deliver. If you don't qualify for the hardware for free, see how much we can save you a month to cover the hardware cost. There's a few ways we can do it to make sure you're not paying more for this. And that's where most folks would like to start. Now that you've seen the demo, right? Let's take a look at the numbers. If those look good, we'd be happy to get you signed up.
All right. So Zach's contact information is here. We will send out the recording, but thank you all so much for joining. And we'll probably be announcing some other webinars in the near future. So thank you again.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it. Have a lovely day.